Hi everybody, how you guys? So this is the title of our new white paper. And you may ask why. No, or you may not, actually. But I can't think of another time, we were asked to do like kind of a summary for the past year and a half, but I can't think of another time in the history of retail where there's actually so much going on with all three of those categories. This presentation, like Michael asked me to do this presentation, we were going to do a TED Talk thing, and it was supposed to be like 15, 20 minutes long. So there may be a little bit more pontificating on my part to draw this thing out a little bit, but it's essentially what I'm giving you a warning on. It's kind of high level. We're in the middle of this white paper. We've got some really interesting information to give you about innovative ways to do retail. But also, I think that you'll find some of the things that we're about to say and some of the things that we discovered during the course of this study pretty interesting. So real quickly, that's who we are. And you heard me kind of stumble through that last night. So all I'd like to do tonight, or today, is introduce Mark Bateman. He's also with WD Partners. And Don Weatherby over there. Don said he was going to get as far back as possible in case I introduced him. So please say hello to those guys. They'll either buy you a drink or an espresso or something like that. So I'm about to show you a video that kind of summarizes. So we were talking about the good and the bad and the ugly, like all this good, bad, and ugly kind of going on at the same time. And I'm about to show you a video. I mean, you just had to watch the movie after we came up with that thought process. And I got this quote from the movie, which I think is super relevant, and we're going to kind of hit on it later. So if you guys could play this really loud, I would appreciate it, but pay attention. It's like 20 seconds long.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Where? Be a lot easier with that.
Okay. My wife, I showed that to my wife, and my wife she's like, "Wait, Clint Eastwood was really good looking back then." I'm like, that was the thing, right? He was a badass and he was good looking. But there's two kinds of people. And I feel that this is really a relevant statement right now. Either you have the loaded guns, or you're trying to load your gun, or you're doing something about loading guns, or you're digging. You're scrambling. You're out there trying to figure out what's going on. You're doing this and you're doing that, and you're trying to catch up, and then somebody else with a loaded gun shoots somebody else. And you're like, why don't I have the loaded guns? How can I get the loaded guns? So a lot of this presentation is about that. But first, I'm going to go through the good, bad, and ugly backwards and just kind of get you up to speed. Most of this stuff you already know. But nonetheless, it's worth kind of level setting and getting us to the point where we're all on the same mind frame. So first, ugly. And that's, by the way, Eli Wallach, and I think he just passed away last year, but he was one of the great character actors of all time. And to give him the ugly moniker was really sort of sinful, but he did a great job in that movie. Sidebar. So anyway, US store closures going to approach 9,000 this year. So I heard somebody like 2 weeks ago talking about, it was an article that got a lot of publicity, we're going to open more stores than we're going to close. But if you look down and you read what those stores were, they were dollar stores. Dollar stores, QSR, one-off restaurants, things like that. So we all know that store closures is really a major factor. And you take the hype out of how many stores that we are opening and what those are, and store closures is really pretty ugly. By the way, I predict that 2018 is going to be worse than 2017. That's the year that we're supposed to have the harmonic convergence of lease debt expiration, as the Wall Street Journal termed it. Foot traffic. So to me, this is the real monster. 10% off. Some big guys are actually up a fraction or two, so you can imagine what it's like. And you know, probably from going to a mall or those places that we kind of overbuilt in the 90s and the zeros, 10% off over the last 5 years. You're talking about at one point in time, we had 100 people in a store, now we got 40. And that's significant. That's significant. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but online sales are only 12%, but then there's nobody in the stores. So they're going somewhere because retail sales are up. They're buying something. So anyway, that's an ugly number. This is ugly too. There's this thing about Amazon hiring, 100 and some thousand people, whatever, I mean, they're hiring people in Columbus. They've hired 6,500 people in the state of Ohio in the last 4 years, Amazon. But it's different kinds of jobs. It's warehouse jobs, it's different. So retail is obviously something you've got to train people for, and like this looming threat is not good because we need good people in the field at retail. That's kind of that last touch point for brands. So that's an ugly number. And then that's also kind of the result of the first slide. We're going to close 25% of our malls. When I think about that, I always think about Columbus, which is kind of Columbus, Ohio, is a perfect microcosm of what's happening here. About 10 years ago, or maybe let's say at the turn of the century, we had 7 malls in Columbus, Ohio. Now we have 2. We have actually 3, but it's kind of a half a mall because now it's just all local vendors and stuff like that are filling the center of the mall. There's nobody on the ends. I mean, it's only a matter of time. That 5 years, this mall is not going to make it for 5 years. So we have 2 malls. Both of those malls, though, are fantastic malls, Easton Town Center and Polaris. But the other 5, gone. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. So bad. That's Lee Van Cleef, who's also a great actor. He got stuck with bad, but that's probably okay for him. He was Angel Eyes in that movie. Okay, now you got to go back sometime and see that movie, right? But what's bad? Well, still bad is customer service. I don't think we've got that figured out yet. And we found this photograph. I think that's just perfect. And how many times does that happen to you? Where you walk in and you say, "Listen, could you just show me where the milk is?" And they look at you like that, like, "Can't you see I'm busy?" Usually there's somebody standing right next to them and they're talking to them too. I mean, it's that thing. And then digital natives. I don't think we quite have digital natives figured out yet. I thought Kim did a great job last night kind of putting a nice reflection on like how that works or how digital natives think. And you might think that this image is incongruous with digital natives, but suppose you're my daughter and she's 18 years old. She shops at Brandy Melville or whatever and all these other places. She's on her phone all the time. She's GoBop and these other places that are shipping her things. And she walks into that place, which is that picture I took a year and a half ago. That store is still open, probably looks exactly like that. What relevance for digital natives does that have? And that's why they're going away. Omni-channel. And everybody's talking about omni-channel, and one of the things, we just did a study last year called Omni-channel is Bullshit, only it's BS. And the thing about that is omni-channel is, what we discovered from talking to consumers is omni-channel is really about your brand. So if you're Forever 21, it's okay if you don't have technology in a store. You're Urban Outfitters, it's okay if you don't have technology in a store. If you're Sephora, maybe not so much. They've got technology coming out off the walls, like off of every wall, and everybody's used to it. Their website is prolific. Forever 21 doesn't even really have a website. Both of those brands are doing pretty well, but they treat omni-channel differently because they're employing what their brand is all about to the way that they distribute the touch points. That's really what omni-channel is all about. It's not about putting a kiosk in the middle of a store and talking about office paper. And AI, I put AI in bad, but it's also in good. But one of the reasons it's bad is if I stand here and I go, "Alexa, I want a t-shirt. Alexa, I need some toothpaste." And the toothpaste is the best example, really. "Alexa, get me some toothpaste." Walk out of the room. Just have it shipped to my house. So now, for over 100 years, marketers were marketing to me about what kind of toothpaste to get. Got to get the whitening kind. You got to get this kind. You got to get the kind that tastes like cherries. Now they have to market to that. How do you do that? That's kind of a bad thing. I mean, you've got a lot of people, a lot of agencies, a lot of ad agencies are in trouble right now because they have nobody to market to. They've got to market to that. But there's also a good side to that. So the crux of this presentation, and really what I wanted to talk about, was the good stuff, the loaded guns. And that's what we got to get to. Like, everybody in this room has to start thinking about, yeah, there's some ugly stuff going on. We're going to deal with that. There's some bad stuff going on too. We're going to deal with that. They're all kind of going on simultaneously, but there's also some phenomenally good things going on. And I'm going to show you some things with some numbers that we pulled from this latest study that we did. We did with 3,000 people around the country. We asked them about innovative concepts and if it would increase their chance to purchase. Scale of 1 through 7. The only percentages I'm going to show you are the top 2 boxes. I hope you just heard me or were paying attention because I'm not going to say it again. But the percentages that I show you are top 2 boxes, increased chance of purchase. We have a lot of other information, but I thought I had 15 minutes, so I'm not going to show it to you. But I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'm going to be here. I'm here all week. Okay, so one of the really good things and one of the loaded gun part is e-commerce sales. And I don't care what you say, like, if it's 12%, I know that I saw Mickey Drexler talking about it before he lost his job. He was saying it was 33% for J. Crew. A lot of specialty companies, too, are really high like that, in the high 20s. But if you just look at that, e-commerce sales in the United States has doubled over the last 5 years. 5 years, it has doubled. And if you do regressive math or regression mathematics, and you do about 15 to 20% increase for your company and about a 1 to 2% decrease in stores, online sales are going to increase. They're going to be bigger than store sales in about 5 or 6 years. Just about every company. And some companies really get that. So they as a first step, put everything they had into e-commerce sales. And so we're starting to see the results of that. And I think it's a big, big positive. Another kind of loaded gun is this buy online, pick up in store. And it sounds benign, I know. We've done 3 studies on it now. We did 1 study on like how consumers would want to see it. Again, with more than 3,000 people across the country. And buy online, pick up in store every time in terms of digital integration tools and beacon technology and RFID and endless aisle and all that stuff. Buy online, pick up at store or in store, #1 every time. It's really an important tool that you have to have. If you haven't got it figured out yet, that's probably okay, but you need to keep trying to do that. So we ask consumers not necessarily about this store in particular, so take that out of the mindset. And 53% of them put them in the top 2 boxes to increase purchase. Yeah, I'd go there more often. Yes, I would buy things more often if they had buy online, pick up in store. So we got to figure it out. That's an important tool. I was looking at that too, thinking, how good is like Whole Foods going to look right up there? Right, Gabby, up on the top part? Going to be amazing. I need that, by the way. Then artificial intelligence. And we put a cute little robot on here. I shouldn't have done that really, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the last robot that we looked at, artificial intelligence. Would artificial intelligence in the store actually increase your chances of purchase? 41%. Just so you know, when we talk about top 2 boxes, and after years of looking at them, when you get to about 40%, it's definitely worth testing. Like, how can we test and fail fast? 50% is a really good number. 60% and the customer is ahead of you. So just keep that in mind as we go through some of these numbers. The 41% said that they would increase their chance of purchase if they could encounter artificial intelligence in one of your stores. Pop-up, this one was a little odd to me, and I don't know if there's just been a lot of bad experiences out there, a lot more awareness, but only 35% in terms of pop-up. But I still think that it's a good tool. Whatever that tool might be for, it might be more for brand awareness than anything else, but it's still a good gun to have your quiver. Then Bingo Box. You guys read about Bingo Box? So it's an Alibaba store. Steve LaMontagne from Walgreens, I'm sure, is probably kind of painfully aware of this, but the idea, and we did a study also about checkout, because checkout's also a very important thing and a very new thing that we have to kind of get up to speed on. But Bingo Box, you have an app that belongs to Alibaba. You walk in, you scan your stuff, you put it in a bag, there's a security camera, walk out, go home. So they've already got 20 or 30 of these open, and they're going to open like 100 of them. So once they start to be able to sell goods like that on a broad basis, just with checkout, once we start to be able to do it, what do consumers think of that? Close to 50%. So 49%, that's an acceptable number, and it's beyond kind of the testing point and something that we should think about testing. And this model, just so you know, the way that we describe the consumers is not Amazon Go. Amazon Go has a lot more technology involved in how you move things from shelves, et cetera. This is just about you, your tool, your scan, you go. Pretty simple. In showroom stores, I'm going to spend a second on showroom stores. I'm going to do a round table at whatever that is today, I think like 1:30 today. And the conversation about the roundtable is going to be, why aren't you doing showroom stores? And I don't mean that, sarcastically or, consultant like, hey, why aren't you doing that? Because I understand there's got to be a lot behind it. There's a lot behind it just to get it done. But showroom stores are starting to resonate to the point where $1 trillion or $500 billion companies are really taking notice about showroom stores. And what is a showroom store? The theory is I have one unit out there. I take that unit, I try it out. Well, that's really great. I scan it, gets shipped to my house. I go home. I have no bag, I have no nothing. 58%. And that's an aggregate. That's all generations. That's Gen Z, all the generations that Kim was talking about last night. So think of all the different mentalities involved. 58% said, yes, that would increase my chance to purchase if you did a showroom store. Here's just another example of one, the apartment in New York City. If you haven't been there, it's kind of like a super cool IKEA. But you go in there, you say, and everything in there is for sale except the radiator. If you go in there, you like that painting on the top and maybe that little bowl, you just sign up for it, shipped to your house. 58% was the number we had talked about before. So just one last thing on a showroom. This is not the first time we've got showroom information. That's why I thought if we had a roundtable. I just want to find out, what are the drawbacks to doing it? I understand some IT, some leadership, some things like that, but I'd like to kind of hear from you guys. So first test we did was about 1.5 years ago. Digital natives we define as people under 30 years old. Digital immigrants are people over 45 years old, older or younger. And so we had a pretty big separation. The last time we did this test, which was only 1.5 years ago, 55% of digital natives, they're like, yes, do it now. By the way, we're way ahead of you. We want to see it right now. Digital immigrants are like, no. I don't know if I like that idea because there's some stuff I want to get and some stuff I want to go. Which is another thing we found out about showroom stores in qualitative. Sometimes, and I was talking to somebody from Beta, they got the same results. Sometimes you have to have one on hand because people want to go, but they just have to let you know ahead of time. So, fast forward to now, 1.5 years later, take a look at digital immigrants. 35% up. I think this will work. Yeah, 22%, 57%. 35% difference in 1.5 years between people that are 45 years and older. Pretty much the same number, a little bit better number from digital natives, up around 60%. But suddenly you have broad-based acceptance. Here's what it is. Here's how you would do it. Do you like it? Yes. Would that increase your chance of purchase? Very much so. So showroom stores. Showroom stores are another thing. It's a loaded gun that we need to talk about. Super positive, in my opinion. Experiential retail. We asked consumers about experiential retail. We described the Nike store and a few other stores where you'd actually be able to go in, engage in product. You could play games, blah, blah, blah. We did not mention buy anything. Would that increase your chance of purchase with that brand? 49%. Super acceptable. That's a great number. That's beyond testing. And I don't know if you guys from Chicago, and Steve, you might want to check this out, but out on Randolph Avenue, you go west on Randolph Avenue from downtown, and this House of Vans is probably the most experiential brand portrayal that I think I've ever seen. But you can go skateboarding, you can buy something, you can buy a hat, you can buy a pair of shoes, you can go there, they have concerts there, and then, oh, by the way, you can just go there and hang out. So it's just packed with kids. Some of them are doing nothing, some of them are talking to each other, other kids are buying things, people are walking back and forth. I mean, it's really a great idea of an experiential store. And when we talk about experience retail or any of these tools, we're not saying you got to do all of them all at once. It's a lot like OMNI-CHANNEL. Which one is right for your brand? Is this the idea of what a flagship store would be for Vans, and then Vans has 20 other stores within the Chicagoland area? Probably. 49%. A great number. By the way, those colors are a lot different than those colors. And also, I just threw this in there because new malls are cropping up like this one in Palm Beach, and then the platform in Los Angeles that are a lot different than the malls that we used to have. They're residential on top. There was one in Boulder, whose name I can't think of either, or no, maybe it was Denver. But same type of thing, where it's very much a streetscape. It's not like a shopping center where you park. There's apartments, there's stores. All these malls are doing really well, so it's another loaded gun. It's another opportunity to make retail more interesting because, as we've said 1,000 times, people don't have to go to stores anymore. So you have to make them want to go to stores. They have to want to go to stores. And then I don't know if you know this, but Hudson Yard, if you haven't seen what this is, you should Google it. I just threw this in there, but talk about an experience. I mean, it is going to be something. It's on the west side, about 45th Street in New York City. We're working on a restaurant there now, and what they're going to build around it and how the way that you're going to be able to live in this area, I mean, you won't have to leave, really. So the new ROI, just real quickly, we got this from Deloitte, a couple other people as well, but Deloitte predominantly, where we used to say, and this is part, I think, of how we have to move forward from what we were in terms of physical retail to what we need to be. We have new loaded guns that we're not necessarily using, although some people are. We have a lot of new tools, but we're still measuring stores in the same way that we were before. If online sales doubled in the United States over the course of the last 5 years, your in-store sales are not going to be the same. They're just not going to be the same. So to say like, well, we had, last year, our likes to likes, we were down 5%. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. Footfalls. So footfalls may matter, but if you can convert people without footfalls, which is happening with a lot of major brands now, it's just as good. I was just talking to somebody from Abercrombie & Fitch, and they were telling me conversions is still the main number. And I'm like, no, it's not. The conversion isn't a main number. Online sales lift in a geographic market is more important number than anything. Wall Street Journal just had an article last week that said that when an online retailer opens up a store, their online sales go up 52%. So they're selling stuff there anyway online, same zip code. They open up a store, all the online sales get lifted 52%. So that just goes to show you that with your store, you can lift online sales. You don't necessarily have to get all the sales year over year, footfalls, conversions that you got before. And then the social and press impressions is really kind of funny to me because I think one of the reasons why Amazon is so successful is simply because that's all they do. Like every week something will come out with like a drone and a spaceship and robots and something's going to happen where they're going to deliver something in 2 seconds. And what was that thing you were telling me about the other day, Mark? The tube. They're going to, 700-mile-an-hour tubes. And, so that's what they're doing. And Walmart's starting to get hip to that too now. Like, okay, let's say that we're doing this. And where did they do it? They did it in 2 stores. Doesn't matter. It's an article in a Wall Street Journal. Those are press impressions. Those are social impressions. Those go on social media. That is the game now. That's the retail game. So every one of you guys, I know you guys are all looking at me going, yeah, you can stand up there and say that, but how the hell do we do a showroom store? Or how the hell do we do some of this stuff? And because you guys are probably a lot more pragmatic than I am. And I'm not sitting there, pounding nails and trying to make sure that a store is open and the store is open exactly right. So I guess I would return that question with a question of my own. How is it that these guys can do it? If these guys can do it, I think we can all do it. And so I'm just going to talk about them for a second. So their online sales to begin with, up 63%. Great job. They knocked that off first. And also, even before that, one of the things they did is the CEO went to the street and he said, hey, you guys, for the next 2 years, our comp sales are going to suck. Our comp sales are going to suck because I'm going to take every dime that we make and I'm going to put it back, I'm going to invest in it, and I'm going to make things happen. And their stock dropped like 10% that day, and now it's back up about 15% from where it was. Why? Because they're investing in the business. But step one was taking a look at that ROI model that we just showed you. It's just not going to be the same. I'm sorry. It's going to be a little bit different because we're going to have to do something to get us over this hump. So they bought Jet. And they bought Jet, and we're starting to see that what they did with Jet now is they'll run like ModCloth and Bonobos and all these other smaller brands, they run them through there so that a millennial who has this impression about Walmart no longer has that kind of impression because they're going through Jet. They won't even see Walmart. That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. They have that sweet algorithm, where the more you buy, if you buy 10 things, you get 15% off. You buy 20 things, you get 30% off, that kind of thing. I mean, that was a smart move. Walmart is the only retailer that we have seen, with the exception now of Whole Foods / Amazon, that does buy online, pick up in store right. Whenever we've done a test for buy online, pick up in store, and say, how do you want it to happen? Number one with a bullet is, I want to pull up, I want them to put it in my car, and I want to drive home. Why do you like that? Well, because that way I can go on my way home. I don't have to get out of the car with my kids. There's like a list this long. And I understand maybe for somebody like Target, it's not that easy, but somehow we have to figure out the equivalent of that. Is it lockers in the parking lot with your stuff in it? Is it lockers in the front of the store that somebody can pull up with a drive-through lane and just go in there, open the locker, and take their stuff? There's ways to do it, but Walmart is definitely doing it right. And it looks a little fuddy-duddy, but Walmart also came out, one of the first things they came out with after they announced that they weren't going to make their numbers, is they started putting extra associates in front of the sales lines so that when you walked up, especially at holiday, and they said, go to number 8, come on, let me take you over to number 8, and they would assist you over to number 8, and they all had little Santa outfits on. That works, associates. And so here's my question too about Walmart and Bonobos. Why do you think Walmart bought Bonobos? Why did Walmart buy Bonobos? For revenue? Get out of here. They had like 15 stores, and they're doing $2,400 a square foot, which, by the way, is phenomenal. But it's not for revenue. I mean, what are they, like a $20 million company? It doesn't even matter. It's not even a blip. That's not even a point something. That's a .00 something on Walmart's books. They bought it so they can understand how showroom stores work. How does a showroom store work? How did you guys do that? What is the algorithm? How did you get it to somebody so fast? How many of whatever units did you have on hand? Because which ones were they that customers had to have that night? How does that work? How many square feet did you need? So now Walmart just took the gap of showroom stores and shut it down. Now they've got these guys working for them. They're the CEO of the company. They've got them signed up for at least 5 years. They're going to know exactly how to do showroom stores. And then what? Then you have a showroom toy store that's only 1,200 square feet inside their store. Then you have a showroom electronics store that's only X amount, or a music store. And you have a milk case that's only X and X and X. So you take the size of a 180,000 square foot Walmart store because of this theory and the way that this works, and you drop it down to like 20, 30,000 square feet. Now I have a model that I can put anywhere. So that's why Walmart bought Bonobos. Walmart also bought ModCloth because they want to understand this generation. They want to understand social media. They want to understand that type of fashion. They just closed that gap. They bought that company. Not everybody can do that, and I understand that. But nonetheless, they did it. And it's not the only thing that they did. And guess what? Their foot traffic is up. I could guarantee you that that number is not going to hold. It's just not going to hold. People just don't shop in stores as much as they used to. They shop online. That's an old adage. We all know that now. We fought it for a while, but it's happening. And one's going like this, and the other one's going like that, and it's been doing that for years. Their foot traffic, though, is up. Could be because of stuff like this. So you can buy it online, pick it up in the store. There'll be a little thing right there. You just press a couple buttons, and you go pick it up, and you go. So for that person who doesn't want to go through the drive-in because maybe they need some other stuff from the store, depending on what it was, as they thought of it, they can go in there, they can tell them to pick it up there, and then they pick it up there. Pick it up there, pick it up in front of the store, buy online, pick up in store or at store, they got it. Guess what? Foot traffic up. Then they also did this, which would undoubtedly lead to higher foot traffic if they ever rolled this out. So far, a 5-store test. See up there in the front, it says full cart checkout. So I got a full cart checkout because I walked through the store and I scanned stuff, just like Bingo Box. I scanned stuff, so everything that we already know that I showed you that really resonated in terms of increased purchase, these guys are doing. They already knew that, and they're doing it. And then I just had to show you this big, ugly box. Because I'm thinking, I would never put like a Whole Foods on that, right, Gabby? No, she said it'd be reclaimed wood. Yeah. I think we'd have a picture of a lady with some harvest on it as well, right, or something. A big billboard of harvest. Anyway, that's ugly, but still you kind of get it. So, but one last thing. So they also struck up this deal with Google, and so did Home Depot, I believe. But the idea there, obvious, so now the AI thing, got to get on the AI thing. That's also going to happen because where I ask Alexa, get me a shirt, and I ask Google whatever, I mean, they have to be playing that because consumers are definitely going to go there. I personally think it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to retail. And Amazon just slipped under the covers. If you recall, last holiday, they sold 5 million units before anybody even knew what hit them. Sold 5 million units last December. They've sold 25 to 30 million units of Echo this year. You walk into a Whole Foods store now, they have Echoes there for like $50 or whatever it is, $99.99, something crazy. And I predict that sooner or later, within the next couple of years, they'll start giving Echo away. So if you're a Prime member, first thing you get is an Echo. Now you can talk to Echo and just have anything shipped to your house. I also couldn't help but wonder, but if you ask the Walmart thing, like, hey Walmart, I want to buy something from Amazon and see what it says. or if you say, Alexa, could you go to Walmart and get me, and see what it does. But probably like explode, start on fire. So one question for everybody in this room. I dragged that out a little for Michael. Bear with me. Are you being out-innovated by Walmart? Is that what's going on? We have all this good stuff out there. A lot of amazing things. Now we have consumers telling us about showroom stores now. They've been telling us, which I'm sure you guys have better research than we do, but they're telling us for 3 years now that showroom stores are a really great thing. So specialty retailers, where are the showroom stores? Bonobos has been doing $2,400 a square foot for years. Everybody knows it. Where are the showroom stores? Buy online, pick up in store. We talk to consumers about that. One of the reasons buy online, pick up in store gets dinged now is because consumers have run into so much bad execution. They've run into so much bad execution, they're like, oh yeah, that sucks. And so we have those comments too, if you ever want to hear them. But it's kind of stunning. It's like, yeah, I think buy online, yeah, I really want to do it, but I don't know who's doing it right. There's some stores that make me walk in the back of the store. There's some stores I got to go in and find it. And there's other stores I got to wait in the return line in front of somebody who's angry. So on and on and on and on. But these guys are figuring out. So there's a question for you and for your CEOs. Are you being out-innovated by Walmart? And just a quick quote here to kind of close out. It's long. It's the wrong color. But if you focus on the bottom 3 lines, competitors who can't evolve will be selected for extinction by a beautiful force called capitalism. And if I know this room, there's a lot of capitalists in this room. There's not a lot of socialists, I would venture to say. And one more quote to kind of close it out. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent of species or the ones that dig that survive, but the ones most responsive with the loaded guns. By Clint Darwin. No, that joke doesn't work. I'll have to take it out of there. Okay, so again, we're just starting this study. I'll be happy to give you my card. We'll send you a study when we get through with it. We also took 104 retail brands and we measured them by good, bad, and ugly. Good being, yes, they mean a lot to my life. Bad meaning, I don't know if I really care, but they serve a purpose. And ugly being, I hope they go away tomorrow. So thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.